I learned early in my life that there are two economies you must manage: the external economy of dollars and cents and the internal economy of thoughts and choices. The first follows the second. You cannot fix your finances without first fixing your philosophy. So today, we're not just going to talk about how to make more. We're going to talk about how to become more, and how to make sure that when wealth comes, it stays not just in your accounts, but in your life, your legacy, and your character. Because remember this, money is not life's greatest reward. Wisdom is. Money is a result of right thinking, disciplined habits, and patient strategies. It's not magic, it's mindset. Wealth isn't a number. It's not the size of your paycheck, the balance in your savings, or the car parked in your driveway. That's the illusion. The real truth is this: wealth is who you become. It's internal before it ever becomes external. If you stripped a wealthy person of every dollar they had, but left their habits, mindset, and discipline intact, they'd rebuild it all again. Maybe faster than the first time. Why? Because wealth is not just money, it's capability. It's the habits you carry, the philosophies you practice, and the mindset you develop over time. You don't chase wealth, you attract it by becoming the kind of person who's ready for it. I remember a young man who once came to me with a question. He said, "How can I make $1 million?" I told him, "You don't make $1 million, you become the kind of person who can make and manage $1 million." There's a difference. It's not about the goal, it's about the growth required to reach that goal. And that growth changes you. It sharpens your thinking. It stretches your discipline. It deepens your understanding of how the world works, how value is created, how relationships matter. The money is the byproduct. The real treasure is the transformation. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They think if they just had more money, all their problems would disappear. But money doesn't solve character flaws, it amplifies them. If you're reckless with $100, you'll be reckless with $100,000. If you lie to yourself when you're broke, you'll deceive yourself even more when you're wealthy. But if you're honest, disciplined, thoughtful, and strategic when you have very little, then when you have more, those qualities multiply your results. The world rewards who you become, not just what you earn. This is why personal development is the root of financial success. It's not optional, it's foundational. You've got to grow into wealth. It doesn't just land in your lap and stay there. And if it does, and you haven't built the foundation, it will vanish as quickly as it came. I've seen it too many times. Lottery winners who go broke, athletes who retire poor, celebrities who fall from financial grace. Why? Because money came before mindset. Fame arrived before foundation. And when pressure hit, the structure collapsed. But you don't need millions to start becoming wealthy. You start with a decision to become more, to read more, to learn more, to earn more, not just by working harder, but by thinking better, by practicing new habits, by showing up on time, keeping your word, saving when it's hard, and investing when it's easier to spend. That's the real wealth. It's in the decision to lead yourself even when no one's watching. It's in the choice to grow when others are coasting. It's in the discipline to stay steady while others are looking for shortcuts. So don't ask, how can I get rich? Ask instead, who do I need to become to attract the kind of wealth that lasts? That's the better question. Because once you become that person, the results are inevitable. And here's the beautiful part. No one can take that from you. Not the market, not the government, not the economy. Because what's built inside can't be stolen. That's real wealth. And when you become that kind of person, you'll find that wealth starts to chase you instead of the other way around. Let me tell you something I've observed over the years. Too many people are working overtime to look rich, while the truly wealthy are quietly building assets behind the scenes. It's a strange paradox of life. The ones who want to impress often end up broke. The ones who stay humble, stay steady, and keep their focus on substance rather than appearance, they're the ones who finish wealthy. Real wealth is usually invisible in the beginning stages. It's in the investments you don't see. The accounts are quietly growing, the skills being sharpened after hours when no one is watching. Now, It's tempting to show off when you start making a little money. I understand that. When you've struggled, the first thing you want to do is reward yourself. Maybe buy that expensive watch, the car that turns heads, or the latest gadget to signal, I've made it. But if you're not careful, those signals can become shackles. I've seen people dig their financial graves one luxury purchase at a time. They end up trapped in a lifestyle that looks rich on the outside but is fragile on the inside. I remember when I first started earning real money. I was tempted too. There was a time when I thought about buying the fanciest car on the lot just to prove a point to people who didn't really matter. But then I paused and asked myself a better question. Would I rather look wealthy or be wealthy? And when I answered honestly, I knew the right move wasn't to buy the car, it was to buy an asset. Something that would produce income, not just collect dust in the garage. So I chose to invest in a piece of property instead. Years later, that property kept paying me long after the car would have rusted out in the driveway. See, wealthy people think differently. They understand that money is a tool, not a trophy. It's not about status, it's about security, freedom, and options. The rich don't need to flash their wealth because they're focused on building it, not broadcasting it. And most of the time you won't see it. It's happening quietly in bank accounts, in real estate, in dividend-paying stocks, in equity ownership of businesses. While others are busy trying to keep up with the Joneses, the wealthy are busy buying the streets the Joneses live on. So here's the discipline. Live below your means. Build in silence. Delay the luxury until your assets, not your paycheck, can pay for it. And when you finally do buy the nice things, do it because you can afford them comfortably, not because you're trying to impress anyone. That's the difference between pretending and prospering. If you commit to this mindset, you'll find that your wealth grows faster than you imagined because you're not draining it on things that don't multiply. You're planting seeds instead of burning them. And before long, you'll wake up one day not just looking rich, but actually being rich. And that, my friends, is the better way. I learned early in life that money is not something you chase directly. It's something you attract by becoming valuable. The market doesn't pay you because you need the money. It pays you because you found a way to serve others in a meaningful way. That's the first lesson of wealth. Don't focus on getting rich. Focus on becoming valuable. If you become valuable, the money will come. If you don't, it won't matter how hard you try or how loud you shout. Think about the people who earn the most. They're not necessarily the hardest workers physically, but they've mastered the art of solving problems. They've found a way to create or deliver something other people need, want, or are willing to pay for. That's the game. Wealthy people don't wake up and say, "How can I get rich today?" They wake up and say, "How can I become more valuable today?" And in becoming valuable, wealth is a natural byproduct. I remember when I was broke and frustrated, wondering why the money wasn't coming my way. I thought working more hours would solve the problem, but it didn't. Because the market doesn't pay you by the hour, it pays you for the value you bring to the hour. Once I understood that, everything changed. I shifted my focus from clocking into skill building. I started reading, learning, and practicing how to help more people solve more problems. I figured out that if I could help enough people get what they wanted, I wouldn't have to worry about getting what I wanted. And that's true no matter what field you're in. If you're in sales, become a master at understanding people's needs, not just pushing products. If you run a business, focus on creating real solutions, not just marketing gimmicks. If you're an employee, think like an owner. Look for ways to make the company better, faster, or more efficient. That's how promotions happen. That's how businesses grow. And that's how fortunes are made, by becoming indispensable. It's not about asking for more money. It's about becoming the person who's worth more. And you do that by increasing your knowledge, expanding your network, and constantly upgrading your contribution. Read the books others won't read. Attend the seminars others won't attend. Put in the extra hour of study when no one's watching. That's how you separate yourself from the crowd. Most people look for shortcuts to wealth, but the wealthy know that the only real shortcut is becoming more valuable faster. Not by cutting corners, but by growing so much that the world can't help but notice. And when the world notices, the checks start coming in, not because you asked, but because you earned it. So if you want to attract more money, stop thinking about the money. Think about the value. Become so valuable that people line up to work with you, buy from you, or learn from you. That's the mindset shift that turns poverty into prosperity. One of the great traps of success is the moment when you start to believe you've arrived. When the ego steps in and whispers, "Look at you, look how far you've come." That voice, if you're not careful, is the first step toward the downfall. You see, ego spends fast, but wisdom saves slow. That's why the truly wealthy guard their success with humility. They don't flaunt it. They protect it. They don't shout about it. They sustain it. I've seen people go from nothing to something and back to nothing because they forgot this simple rule. The minute they made a little extra money, the spending started. New cars, bigger houses, fancy clothes, and lavish vacations. But what they didn't see was that they weren't building wealth, they were building an image. And images are expensive to maintain. True wealth is quiet. It's the silent account growing in the background, the property earning rent, the investments compounding year after year. The wealthy don't always look wealthy, and that's not by accident, it's by design. They understand that the goal is not to look rich, but to stay rich. And staying rich requires humility. Now, humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It means thinking of yourself less. It means keeping a student mindset. No matter how much you've earned or achieved, the marketplace changes. The economy shifts. New technologies emerge. If you stop learning, you'll fall behind. But if you stay teachable, you stay adaptable. And adaptability is wealth insurance. I learned this the hard way once. After my first wave of success, I thought I had it all figured out. I stopped studying. I stopped asking questions. I started coasting on what I knew. And you know what happens when you coast? You eventually lose momentum. It wasn't long before I found myself making mistakes I could have avoided if I'd stayed curious. That was a lesson I'll never forget. Success makes you comfortable, but comfort makes you careless. That's why it's wise to act poor, even when you're rich. Not out of fear, but out of discipline. Drive the same car a little longer. Resist the urge to upgrade every time you get a raise. Keep your expenses low and your investments high. Live like you're still building, even when you've already built something great. Because the truth is, the game isn't just about getting wealthy. It's about staying wealthy. And staying wealthy requires you to stay grounded. Humility keeps you open to advice. It helps you avoid arrogance. It reminds you that no one is immune to mistakes. The moment you think you can't lose is usually the moment you start losing. So keep learning, stay grateful, stay focused on the long game, not the short-term flash. Protect your wealth by protecting your mindset. Money has a language, just like any other subject you choose to master in life. And if you don't study it, you'll forever be confused by its rules, manipulated by its players, and trapped in a game you don't understand. The wealthy make it their business to become fluent in the language of finance. They study it, they practice it, and they speak it daily, not because they're obsessed with money, but because they know ignorance is expensive. See, if you were dropped in a foreign country and couldn't speak the language, you'd have a hard time navigating, wouldn't you? You'd struggle to order food, find directions, or read important signs. Now think about this. Most people are living in the land of money, yet they don't know the language. They don't understand terms like cash flow, equity, compounding, or leverage. And because of that, they make poor decisions, get stuck in debt, or fall for financial traps. It's not that they're bad people, it's that they're financially illiterate. The wealthy don't leave this to chance. They learn the rules of the game, they understand how money works, how to grow it, how to protect it, and how to multiply it. They know how debt can be both a tool and a trap. They study compounding, not just because it's interesting, but because it's the eighth wonder of the world. Small sums multiplied over time can become fortunes if handled properly. And they understand cash flow, not just how much is coming in, but how much is going out. It's not about what you make, it's about what you keep and what you invest. Now let me tell you something from my own life. When I was young, I thought if I just worked harder, I'd get ahead. And working hard is important, but I learned quickly that you can be the hardest working person in the room and still be broke if you don't understand how money moves. I remember sitting down one day and realizing I didn't know enough about how to make my money work for me. That's when I made the decision to study wealth, the same way a doctor studies medicine or an attorney studies law. I started reading every financial book I could find. I listened to mentors who were doing better than me. I asked questions. I watched the markets. I learned the difference between assets and liabilities, between passive income and earned income, between capital gains and cash flow, and over time, the fog cleared. What once seemed complicated became simple because I committed to learning the language. This is something anyone can do, no matter where you're starting from. Maybe you don't have much right now, that's okay. But start learning. Pick up a book on personal finance. Watch videos about investing. Talk to someone who's smarter than you about money. The goal is not to become a financial wizard overnight, it's to get a little smarter each day. Because the better you speak the language of money, the better you'll play the game of wealth. One of the great lessons in life is learning to manage your emotions, especially when it comes to money. Wealth isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about how you think and how you feel when those numbers go up or down. Most people lose money not because of bad investments, but because of bad reactions. Panic makes them sell too soon. Greed makes them buy too fast. Impulse makes them spend what they should have saved. And fear makes them avoid opportunities that could have changed their life. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone make a financial decision in the heat of the moment? Maybe they bought something they couldn't afford just to impress someone they don't even like. Maybe they jumped into an investment because they didn't want to miss out, only to watch it crash the next month. Or maybe they sold everything the first time the market dipped, locking in a loss because they couldn't stomach the temporary pain. These aren't money problems. They're emotion problems. And if you don't control your emotions will control your wallet. I had to learn this myself. Early in my career, I was quick to get excited, quick to worry, and quick to act without thinking things through. I remember once, in my eagerness to grow my money faster, I jumped into a business deal I didn't fully understand. On the surface, it looked good, shiny, exciting, full of promise. But I skipped the homework. I ignored the risks. And when it went sideways, I lost more than just money. I lost confidence for a while. That was a costly tuition, but it taught me something important. Never let emotions make your financial decisions. So, how do you build this kind of discipline? You create space between the stimulus and the response. When something happens, good or bad, don't react immediately. Give it a day. Sleep on it. Use what I call the 24-hour rule. If it still makes sense tomorrow after you've calmed down, you can proceed. But most of the time, you'll find that the first wave of emotion fades and wisdom starts to speak. Another thing is to prepare in advance for emotional situations. Decide ahead of time how you'll handle market drops, unexpected bills, or sudden windfalls. Don't wait until you're emotional to make your plan. That's like deciding how to steer the ship after the storm has already started. Know your rules before the storm comes. The wealthy don't avoid emotion, they just don't let it run the show. They practice patience when others panic. They stay calm when others get greedy. They reflect before they react. Emotional discipline is like financial armor. It protects you from costly mistakes. And if you can master that, you'll be ahead of most people. Because wealth isn't just about what you earn or invest, it's about what you're able to keep because you stayed calm when it mattered most. One of the greatest shifts you can make in your financial life is to stretch your thinking beyond the moment. Most people are trapped in short-term thinking. They wonder, how do I make it to Friday? How do I cover the bills this month? How do I get by until my next paycheck? And I understand that. When you're under pressure, survival thinking takes over. But if you stay stuck there, you'll never escape that cycle. You'll be running on the same hamster wheel year after year, getting nowhere fast. The wealthy live differently. They think differently. They look beyond the week, beyond the month. They look in decades. They think, what can I do today that will pay me 10 years from now? What can I build that will outlast me? How can I create something that serves not just me, but my children and their children? That kind of thinking changes the way you approach everything. It shifts your focus from immediate pleasure to long-term purpose. I remember when I was first starting out, I was introduced to the concept of planting seeds. It was explained to me like this. If you plant a seed today, you don't go out tomorrow morning and dig it up to see if it's growing. No, you water it, you protect it, you let time do its work. But most people plant seeds of opportunity, then get frustrated when they don't see immediate results. They pull the seed out of the ground, complain about the soil, and move on to something else. The wealthy know better. They plant, they nurture, and they wait. They understand the law of the harvest. You don't reap in the same season you sow. Building wealth works the same way. You don't become financially free in a weekend seminar. You don't create legacy wealth by winning the lottery. You do it by making small, wise choices every day that compound over time. Save a little, invest a little, learn a little, serve a little. Do that consistently over 10, 20, 30 years, and you'll be shocked at the results. Here's something else to consider. Long-term thinking also protects you from short-term traps. When you're thinking about the next 10 years, you're less likely to blow your budget on things you don't need today. You're less likely to fall for get-rich-quick schemes because you understand that true wealth isn't about speed, it's about stability. It's not about a jackpot, it's about a journey. When you think in decades, your stress goes down because you stop measuring success by today's problems. You stop asking, did I win today? And you start asking, did I take a step forward today? That's a very different game. So take a moment and imagine your life 10 years from now. Where do you want to be financially? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? What habits do you need to start today to get there? Write it down, make the vision clear, and then make sure every decision you make this week is pointing you in that direction. Because the truth is, wealth isn't built in days, it's built in decades. You see, one of the most important secrets to lasting wealth is protecting the very source of your income. Often, people focus so much on making money that they forget about the engine that produces it. It's like having a golden goose. You want to keep it healthy, well-fed, and safe, because if it dies, your golden eggs stop coming. I learned this lesson early in my career. When I was younger, I worked long hours, pushed myself to the limit, thinking more effort meant more money. But I neglected my health and my relationships. Eventually, my energy ran low, my focus wavered, and my results plateaued. That was a wake-up call. Wealth isn't just about cash flow. It's about sustaining the source that generates that flow. Your skills, your health, your mind, and your time, these are your true assets. Think about it this way. If you don't take care of your physical health, you'll be forced to spend money on medical bills and lose valuable work time. If you don't guard your mental and emotional well-being, poor decisions might creep in, and your productivity can suffer. If you let your skills stagnate, you become less valuable in the marketplace. The business owner who ignores customer service or product quality will eventually see their business shrink. The employee who fails to upgrade their skills risks being replaced. So guard these sources fiercely. Schedule time for rest and renewal. Invest in learning new skills and keeping your mind sharp. Protect your relationships because they often open doors you didn't even know existed. Avoid burnout by pacing yourself and saying no when necessary. Protecting your source is about understanding that wealth is not just about chasing dollars, it's about nurturing what creates those dollars consistently. If you kill the goose that lays the golden eggs, you end up with no eggs at all. True wealth requires preservation as much as it requires growth. Guard your source wisely, because without it, all your wealth-building efforts are on shaky ground. You see, too many people get caught in the trap of earning more by simply trading their time for money. They think, if I just work longer hours or get a higher-paying job, I'll be wealthy. But that's poor thinking, because time is limited, and your hours can only stretch so far. True wealth comes when you learn to multiply what you already have. not just earn more by working harder. I remember when I first realized this, working harder wasn't enough. I was earning more, but my expenses were rising right alongside. The breakthrough came when I started focusing on how to make my money work for me. Instead of chasing every dollar with my own hands, I put money into investments that generated dividends, started small businesses that ran even when I wasn't there, and looked for opportunities to create passive income streams. This is the difference between active and passive income. Active income is where you exchange time for dollars, like a paycheck or a consulting fee. Passive income comes from assets that earn money while you sleep. Rental properties, royalties from books or courses, dividends from stocks. This mindset shift is crucial. When you learn to multiply your money, your earning potential grows exponentially. Money becomes a tool for creating more money, not just a reward for labor. It's the difference between being a worker and being an owner. So the lesson here is simple but powerful. Don't just ask, how do I earn more? Ask, how do I make my money earn for me? That's the mental code of wealth, the secret to breaking free from the limits of time and truly unlocking financial freedom. Wealth is about multiplying your resources, not just expanding your workload. When you think that way, you start to build a legacy that lasts beyond any single paycheck. Debt is often misunderstood. Many people see it as something to avoid at all costs, while others fall into the trap of using it recklessly, digging themselves deeper into financial holes. But debt itself isn't the enemy, it's how you use it that matters. Poor thinking treats debt like a trap, something that shrinks your wealth and limits your freedom. Wealthy thinking, on the other hand, treats debt as a tool, a lever to build and grow. I remember early in my journey watching people struggle with credit card balances and loans taken for things that lost value, like expensive cars or flashy gadgets. That's what I call bad debt. Borrowing to consume, to spend on liabilities that don't produce income but add to your expenses. It's a slow drain on your finances. But then there's good debt, borrowing strategically to acquire assets that generate cash flow. Think about taking a mortgage on a rental property, investing in a business, or financing education that boosts your skills and income potential. This kind of debt isn't a burden, it's an investment. The wealthy understand this distinction clearly. They use debt to multiply their earning power. They borrow to buy assets that put money in their pockets, not to fund temporary pleasures. This disciplined approach to debt builds wealth rather than diminishes it. So, don't fear debt, but don't misuse it either. Learn to identify good debt and use it as a tool to accelerate your financial growth. Poor thinking leads to debt traps. Wealthy habits use debt to climb higher. Remember, it's not debt that defines your future, it's your understanding and control over it. Freedom is often misunderstood. Many imagine it as the ability to do whatever they please at any moment, a life without constraints or rules. But true freedom isn't chaos. It's the result of discipline. It's the choices you create for yourself through the actions you take today. Discipline may feel like a restriction now, but it's the very foundation that builds real liberty tomorrow. Think about it. If you live paycheck to paycheck, spending impulsively, avoiding budgets, and neglecting saving, you may feel free in the moment. But that freedom is an illusion. You're trapped by your circumstances, forced to react to bills and emergencies. The lack of discipline today leads to fewer choices and less freedom down the road. I've learned through my own life and watching others that discipline in money management, in your habits, and in your decisions is what builds real freedom. Saving consistently, investing wisely, living below your means, all these disciplined actions may seem limiting now, but open doors later. When you have financial discipline, you gain options to quit a job, to take a risk, to enjoy life on your own terms. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's not about restriction, it's about empowerment. When you control your habits and decisions, you control your destiny. Freedom is earned through discipline, not by avoiding it. So embrace discipline today because it's the price you pay for the liberty you seek tomorrow. Let me share a simple truth. The average person lives backwards with their money. They earn, then spend whatever comes into their hands, hoping something will remain for savings. But often nothing is left. This habit leads to financial struggle and missed opportunities. On the other hand, the wealthy approach money differently. They save first and then spend what's left, never the other way around. This mindset shift is critical. When you save first, you are prioritizing your future over momentary gratification. Think of it as paying yourself before you pay anyone else. It's not just a practical habit, it's a declaration of your commitment to building wealth and freedom. I've seen people start with just small amounts, maybe $10 a week. And over time, those small seeds grow into a forest of financial security. Saving first is like planting those seeds. The money you save and invest early builds momentum through time and compounding, creating opportunities you wouldn't have if you always waited until the month's end to see what's left. It's about discipline, yes, but it's also about respect for the power of money. Save first to honor your future self, who will benefit from your wise choices today. Remember, wealth doesn't come from what you earn, it comes from what you keep and grow. So make saving your first priority and watch how your financial life transforms. In the journey of wealth, learning is the compass that guides you through uncertain terrain. Most people believe their education ends when they walk out of school, but that's a grave mistake. The moment you stop learning, you stop growing, and without growth, wealth becomes elusive. The wealthy understand this truth deeply. They don't stop being students just because they leave the classroom. I remember my own path wasn't a smooth ride, and I made many mistakes. But what made the difference was my commitment to lifelong learning. I read books, listened to mentors, and stayed hungry for new knowledge. When others settled for comfort, I kept pushing, and that made all the difference. Learning isn't just about gaining facts. It's about sharpening your mind to see opportunities where others see obstacles. It's about adapting to changing markets, mastering new skills, and thinking creatively about how to grow your assets. The world is changing faster every day. What made you rich yesterday might not work tomorrow. So, the question is, will you be the one who stops, or will you be the one who keeps moving forward by expanding your mind? If you commit to learning when others quit, you set yourself apart. Knowledge compounds just like money. Small daily investments in your education will pay off in big ways down the road. Stay curious, stay teachable, and let learning be the engine that drives your financial success. Too many people settle for a paycheck, thinking that steady income alone will secure their future. But here's the truth that separates the wealthy from the rest. A paycheck makes you a living, but assets make you wealthy. The rich focus on building ownership, owning things that work for them even when they're not working. I've seen it firsthand. Early in my career, I was grinding for every dollar, trading my time for money. It was exhausting. Then I began to understand the power of assets, investing in real estate, acquiring stock in businesses, and creating intellectual property. These are the money machines that don't clock out at 5 p.m. They generate income around the clock. Assets create leverage. When you own something, it has the potential to grow, to pay dividends, or to increase in value. Paychecks stop when you stop working, but assets keep producing, building your net worth silently and steadily. This mindset shift from "I need a paycheck" to "I want ownership" is fundamental. It means you're thinking like a wealth builder, not just a worker. Start small if you must, but start. Buy a share of stock, invest in a rental property, create something that will generate income long after you've earned it. Remember, wealth is built by what you own, not just by what you earn. Think assets, think ownership, and watch how your financial future transforms. Most people look at wealth and think it's about flashy moves, big risks, quick wins, and overnight success. But the real secret is far less glamorous. Wealth is built on boring, steady habits practiced daily. These habits don't make headlines, but they quietly create lasting results. I've known many who chase the excitement of fast money, stocks that skyrocketed overnight, get-rich-quick schemes, or speculative gambles. More often than not, these stories ended in loss and frustration. The truly wealthy don't rely on luck, they rely on discipline. They budget their money carefully, saving a portion of every paycheck before spending a dime. They invest consistently, regardless of market noise or trends. They review their finances regularly to stay on course. Reading is another powerful habit. Continual learning about money, markets, and personal development keeps the mind sharp and decisions wise. It may seem dull to some, but these boring habits compound over time like interest in a bank account, turning modest efforts into substantial wealth. When you commit to these habits daily, you build a fortress of financial stability that no market crash or economic downturn can easily breach. Wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. And the slow, steady steps you take each day will carry you to your destination. Remember, success is often less about exciting moments and more about the quiet consistency of good habits. Embrace the boring, because boring builds billionaires. Life isn't always sunny, and neither is the journey to wealth. Just like the seasons change, so do economic climates. There will be times when the market slows, when income dips, or when unexpected expenses arise. The wealthy understand this and prepare accordingly. They don't wait for the storm to hit before building shelter. Financial winters are inevitable. The key is to anticipate them before they arrive. This means building a reserve, an emergency fund that covers several months of living expenses. It's not glamorous to tuck money away in a savings account that doesn't grow quickly, but it's vital for weathering storms without panic or forced decisions. Insurance is another essential layer of protection. Whether it's health, property, or business insurance, these safeguards prevent catastrophic losses that can wipe out years of hard work overnight. I remember early in my career facing unexpected medical bills without adequate coverage taught me the hard way the importance of insurance. Planning for lean seasons also means having a diversified income, multiple streams that can support you even if one dries up. It means being prudent with debt and avoiding overextending yourself in prosperous times. Thinking ahead is a mental habit that sets the wealthy apart. It's not about fear, it's about foresight and discipline. Prepare for financial winters and you'll sleep peacefully knowing your wealth isn't just a castle built on sand, but a fortress built on rock. As we come to the close of this conversation, remember that wealth is not a mere accident or stroke of luck. It is the result of deliberate choices, consistent habits, and a mindset that sees beyond the immediate. The financial winters I spoke about aren't there to discourage you, they are there to prepare you. They remind us that true wealth is built not only in times of plenty, but also in how we brace ourselves for leaner days. You have the power to shape your financial future by adopting the habits of the wealthy today. Start by valuing patience over instant gratification, discipline over impulse, and preparation over procrastination. Build your emergency fund, protect your assets, and diversify your income streams. Guard your energy and skills. They are your greatest capital. Remember, wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It's the small, seemingly boring decisions made daily that lead to extraordinary results. So here's my call to action for you. Take control of your financial seasons. Don't wait for a crisis to start preparing. Set aside a portion of your income for savings, educate yourself about protecting your assets, and plan for the long haul. Review your financial goals regularly and adjust as life changes. Embrace the mindset that wealth is not just about accumulation, but about security, freedom, and the legacy you build. Make today the day you stop drifting and start designing. Let your decisions be intentional, your actions disciplined, and your vision clear. The path to lasting wealth begins with the choices you make now. Step into your role as the architect of your financial destiny and build a future that withstands every season.